Okay, so we're going to be learning about solving literal equations, lesson 2.7, face this way. And then we have one more lesson and a test. By the time you take your chapter 2 test, the quarter will be over. So literal equations, what in the world are those? So those are equations that involve letters, sometimes numbers, where you rearrange the entire equation to solve for one specific variable. For example, if you had 2x plus y equals 6, and we said we want you to rearrange that equation so that x is isolated. That means you have to get rid of everything next to the x and have x by itself on one side of the equation. Or most of the time you will be isolating y, okay, for slope-intercept equation. So we're going to practice solving literal equations. There are two ways to do this first page, but I'm going to show you the one that I want you to practice. So let's look at this first one. If I can find my right pen. It says that the volume of a rectangular prism is equal to the product of its length L, width W, and height H. Write the equation and solve for W. So not only are we solving literal equations, but we're writing the original equation, and you have to be able to understand the terminology or the vocabulary in here. So volume, do you guys know what volume is measured in? Cube units, right? And a rectangular prism, so the volume of a rectangular prism, V, is equal to, and what does product mean? Yeah, multiplication. So if it says it's the product of the length, the width, and the height, what? Raise your hand if you tell me what we're going to do with that. So, okay, action. Multiply what? Yep, we're going to multiply length, width, and height. Okay, so let's write that out. We have volume equals the product of the length, the width, and the height. Okay. Nope. Now it says to solve for W. Solve for W. So what we have to do is we have to get W all by itself. And that means that we have to get rid of the L and the H. Yes, go ahead. By L, and H. So because we're multiplying all three of these, we do the opposite of multiplication and we divide to get rid of the length and the height. So we have W by itself. So we're going to divide by length and height. If we divide by length and height on the right side, we have to divide by length and height on the left. By doing this, we're getting rid of the L and the H on this side, and now we have isolated W. So the correct new equation would be volume over length and height equals width. So we have solved for W. So this would be our final answer. Okay. This is one of those lessons that some students are like, yeah, I got this. And some students are like, I don't understand. What are we doing with all these letters? What this does for you is it will help you to, when we get to later lessons, be able to rearrange equations in a way that will help you solve them. So there is a purpose behind this. It's not something that you have to know for anything specific other than being able to solve problems in the future. Okay, so let's look at the next one. The circumference of a circle is equal to 2 times pi times the radius. So the circumference C of a circle is equal to 2 times pi times the radius. Solve for pi. So let's write this equation out. C equals 2 pi r. You don't need the raised dots. You don't need parentheses because it's all multiplication and we're dealing with numbers and letters. Now, it wants us to solve for pi, meaning we need to get rid of 2 and r. We just did one like it. So somebody different who has not answered, tell me what we have to do to both sides of this equation. Caleb.
Divide both sides by 2 times 3 for 2R.
Exactly. Divide both sides by 2R because we get rid of it here. And then we have to do the same thing on the bottom. So we rewrite our new equation as C over 2R equals pi. In this case, we're not turning pi into 3.14. And until I tell you otherwise, you're going to leave pi as pi and not turn it into 3.14. Okay. All right. Let's look at this one. Okay, this one is a little bit different. The rate of total commission R is equal to the ratio of the commission C to the total sales S, solve for S. So I know the first part based on what we did in the first two examples that the rate of the total commission R is equal to the ratio. What is ratio in math? What operation? Because this one, I'm not sure you guys have encountered. Okay, what do you think it is? It is division. It's division. So we're going to take the ratio of the commission C divided by S. So C over S. Okay, I didn't notice I didn't put C with the division symbol and then S because we're no longer in arithmetic, we're in algebra, and there's a difference there. So let's go ahead and write this out as R equals C over S. Okay, and it's asking us to solve for S. This is a simple algebraic equation that we've already done, but it may seem different because there's only letters to the side or sign. We are going to multiply, but we're not going to multiply by C. Do you know, Diego, what we're going to multiply by? By S. We're going to multiply both sides by S because when you do that, it's like S over 1, and these two cancel out. And so we're going to multiply R by S. And our new equation is, I have to think about that. RS equals C. Oh, yes, yes. Okay, now we still have to isolate S. We couldn't isolate S on this side because it would not have worked out. Okay, we would have ended up with like, if we multiplied by C, we would end up with C squared over S. Okay. So now we still need to isolate S. Somebody different, tell me what we're going to do. Jeremiah? Divide by R on both sides. Yes. So now we get rid of our R and our R. Yes. S equals C over R. And that would be our final equation. Okay. All right, let's look at example 4. The cost C of going to the fair is a $10 admission cost plus $2.50 times the number of tickets you buy for games. G, solve for G. Okay. So the cost C is equal to $10 admission plus, it tells us what to do, $2.50 times the number of tickets you buy for games. How are we going to write that part? I'm waiting for somebody different to raise their hand. Anybody know and they're afraid to answer? Brooke, you know, right? Lily? Kason? You do know, Kason. Mason? 2.5 times the number of games, G. Savannah. Oh. Okay. Yes, 250G. Okay. C equals 10 plus 250G. And we're solving for G. Now, before we start solving for G, can somebody tell me in an equation, do we get rid of addition and subtraction first or multiplication and division? If I told you it's the reverse order of operation, what would you say?
It's true, because you have to, whatever it does, the thing equals thing.
Okay,
Good job.
when solving
Can you
equations,
elaborate?
so are you gonna divide by 250 or are you gonna subtract 10 first? You're gonna subtract 10 first, okay. Say it in a different way and it makes more sense. So we're gonna take and get rid of C here, and that means we have to subtract C or 10 here. I'm sorry, 10. We subtract 10, get rid of it. So now we're gonna write this as C minus 10 equals 2.5 G. We don't have to write that 0. I mean, you can if you want, but you don't have to. Okay, now we are going to divide both sides by 2.5. So I divide this by 2.5, negative 10 by 2.5, and C by 2.5. Okay. Get rid of that. Now we're gonna have to do some math work. Okay, so we're gonna divide 10 by 2.5. Okay, so you know what? We're gonna do it a little bit simpler. Why don't we just rewrite it like this? C minus 10 divided by 2.5 equals G. Let's leave it like that. Okay. No, not 0.4, it's 4. Yeah, it is 4. So here we go. Does that confuse you? So what would you have done? Okay, do you know what you would have done? I can show you what I was going to do. Yeah. Yeah, you would.
C over 2.5 minus 4 equals G.
Yeah, so
C equals, that's the answer first.
it could be this, or you can do C over 2.5 minus 4 equals G. There is something to do with this 2.5 over here, but I'm not going to show you that yet. Okay. All right, let's go to example 5. The cost C for buying a box of cookies from Tiff's Treats is $15 per box B plus a $1.50 delivery charge. Solve for B. Okay, I want you guys to write the equation on your own. So I want you to write the equation out, discuss it with your partner to help you out. All right, somebody who has not answered, raise your hand and tell me what you think the equation is. You know anything? No? Okay, go ahead, Diego.
C equals 50 plus 4.5.
Yes, good. All right. Now, I want you with your partner to solve for B. It's asking you to solve for B.
5 on both sides, right? 5 by B on both sides. Oh, minus.
Okay, so the first thing we discussed is that we're gonna subtract 1.5 on both sides. And we end up with C minus 1.5 equals 15B. Then we divide everything by 15.
Oh, I think I told you wrong. Okay. And then we get rid of this. Now I have to divide 1.5 by 15. I did tell you wrong. 15 cannot go into 1, but it can go into 1.5 one time. And so this one would actually be 0.1. So we have C over 15 minus 0.1 equals B. Yeah. And so then this would be your final answer. So are there any questions on this? That's why we have 6 pages of practice. Yes.
Oh,
No, that would also be correct. Mhm. So Asher just said he wrote it as C minus 15 over 1.5 equals B. Either one of these I would take. Okay. All right, let's go to the next page. So now that we have practiced on the first page, I would like for you and your partner to do all of these because we've done ones similar. Actually, we've done some that are even harder than the ones on this page. So I would like you to do examples 6 through 9 on your own. And then when we go to page 3, we'll start working together. So I'm going to give you about 5 minutes to work on this. And then we'll come back and you can check your answers. Okay, so check 6 and 7. Those two were, I think most people were able to solve those easily. Okay. And are there any questions on these two before I show you how to do the other two? Okay. I am going to show you at 8 and 9. So we have A equals 8B plus 5. A lot of you were trying to divide by 5, but notice that 5 is not being multiplied, it's being added. So we have to subtract 5. And don't subtract it from 8. You subtract it from one side, you subtract it from the other. So you end up with A minus 5 equals 8B. And this is this was the biggest struggle. So then we divide everything by 8. So your final answer should be A minus 5 divided by 8 equals B. Okay. Okay. Yes. So Parker asked a really good question. Could you write it as A over 8 minus 5 over 8 equals B? Yes, that could also be correct. Okay. All right. Let's go to 9. D equals AC over 5. You are trying to solve for C, so your goal is to get C by itself. We would need to do what first? Multiply both sides by 5 because you want to get rid of this 5. Okay, so we end up with 5D equals AC. Next, we
divide
divide by A. So then our final answer is
D over N equals C.
Thank you, Caleb. All right. Okay, let's go ahead and go to page 3. Oh, do you guys need to see this still? Do you want to go back? Can you? No. I mean, I'll try it. Okay, rearrange this equation for B. Okay, this one's a little bit different because we have a fraction. So somebody tell me what you might want to do. If we're isolating B, we need to get rid of the 1/2 and the H. What would we do? Yeah, we can multiply by the reciprocal of 1/2. So we could do that. Multiply both sides by 2. Okay. And when we do that, we get rid of the 1/2. So we're left with 2A equals BH. Now, I wanna stop there because I know a lot of you are just copying down, but maybe not fully understanding the process. So does anyone need any further explanation?
I understand this.
Okay, next step, we are going to, we still need to isolate B. So we have to divide both sides by H.
H equals B. Let's go. We're like wallbang right now. Dude, we're like-
Okay. Okay. We're gonna move and we are going to now rearrange example 11 for L. Yes, that is the answer. So, I think there's different ways that you can do this. One way is that you can divide every term by 2. Okay, so if I divide every term by 2, I get rid of my 2's here. Okay, so now I have P over 2 equals L plus W. There are a couple different ways. I think this might be the easiest one. So now what am I gonna do to both sides so that I can, yep, minus W, okay. Maybe next time don't shout out that though, because other people may want it. So now we have P over 2 minus W equals L. Pay attention to how I'm writing this, because it isn't just P minus W with it all over 2, because W isn't being divided by 2. We already did that up here. So this would be the correct answer. If you put a 2 under the W, then that would be incorrect. That would be P minus 2, or I'm sorry, P over 2 minus 1/2 W, and that's not what that is, okay? So this right here would be your answer. Okay. Any questions about that? Okay, let's look at this one. We are going to rearrange our equation to solve for F. Okay, the parentheses is in one term and the 5/9 is in the other term. We have to get rid of what is on the outside of the parentheses before we begin getting rid of what is on the inside. Remember, solving equations is the reverse order of operation. So order of operation tells you you need to get rid of the parentheses first, right? But in solving equations, you do the opposite of that and you would get rid of your multiplication first. So, how are we gonna get rid of the 5/9? Somebody raise your hand. Okay, Jeremiah. Huh? Times, close, Asher? Okay, you could distribute, but that gives you so much more work. Yeah, so Jeremiah was close. You're gonna multiply by the reciprocal, so you're gonna multiply both sides by 9/5. And then that way you get rid of 5/9. Okay? So we get rid of this over here. And we're left with 9/5 C equals F minus 32. Okay.
Plus 32.
Now we're gonna add 32 to both sides. Do you guys know what C and F stand for in this equation?
Celsius and Fahrenheit.
Oh my word.
Let's do this.
No. Okay, 9/5 C plus 32 equals F. So this is the Fahrenheit equation. This up here that we started with was Celsius. So we just converted from Fahrenheit to Celsius. Now, I think in your homework, they asked you to do the opposite conversion. If you were to solve for C in this one, now that we got here, what do you think you would do first?
Minus
Yeah, you would minus 32, then multiply by the reciprocal. So you would do the reverse. Okay. All right. on example 13, we are supposed to solve for A. We did one like this on the first page. I want you to try this one on your own, okay? If you need to look at the example that we did on the first page, it was example 3 right here. Okay, so I'm going to give you a minute to try that one on your own. Okay, so on this one, the first thing that you need to do is multiply by A on both sides. Okay, and we cancel those two out. And we're left with A, B equals C plus 3. And you're just checking your answer because you should have tried this on your own. Then we subtract. Oh, are we supposed to be solving for A? Oh, we are supposed to be solving for A. Okay, I was thinking C. All right, now we have to isolate A by dividing both sides by B. I almost messed that up. No, you're not, because you asked me and I said the other thing. Okay, so here we go. Our answer is A equals C plus 3 over B. Now, if we would have been solving for C, we would have subtracted 3, but we were not solving for C. We were solving for A. Okay. Let's go ahead and go on to page 4. I want you to try example 14 on your own, but I do want to do 15 with you. So everybody try example 14. Bless you. Okay, so here is the answer for 14. Okay. I want you to check to make sure that you did that correctly. And then if there's a step that you missed, please notice it. Now, one of the things, so I multiplied by the denominator first. Then I subtracted second, and then I divided by 2. So do your addition and subtraction before you do your multiplication. Well, it would have to be AC over 2 minus 3 over 2, because both terms here, AC and 3 are being divided by 2. So the other way that you could write it would be AC over 2 minus 3 over 2 equals B. Okay. All right. Okay, now let's go down to 15. Okay. And on 15, we are trying to isolate D. When you have a fraction, what do you try to get rid of first? The denominator. So we have to multiply both sides by 2 minus F. So watch, the way that we do, I'm going to rewrite this over here. C equals D over 2 minus F. So we're going to multiply this side by 2 minus F. And we're going to multiply this side by 2 minus F. Make sure you put the parentheses around it. So we get rid of these two. And now we're left with C, times 2 minus F equals D. And then you're done. We've just isolated D. All right. Okay, let's look at example 16. This one is very similar to, let me go back and look, to number 12 and number 10. Okay, so listen up, gentlemen. I want you to try 16 on your own by looking at number 10 or number 12 example and see if you could follow it to get the answer to this one. I'm going to pause the video while you work. Okay, so the first step here is to get rid of the fraction by multiplying both sides by 3. So we get rid of the fraction. And now we have 3x equals yz squared. And then we have to isolate y because that's what it's asking us to do up here. So we divide by z squared. Okay, so our final answer, 3x over Z squared equals Y. Do you have a question? Okay, so let's go to page 5. Now we're dealing with some math, and I'm gonna show you 2 ways to solve these equations. One is by rearranging the equation, and one is by not rearranging the equation, and I'm sure most of you will choose way 2. So we're gonna rearrange the equation to solve for Q. Okay. So, oh, I know, this one's a little bit different. Okay, so we have W equals 4 times P minus Q, and we want to solve for Q. So can somebody give me one way that we can solve this one? Asher? You could. Another way, and what you're actually saying is that you're dividing by 4. So we could divide both sides by 4. So we get rid of the 4 here. And we are left with W over 4 equals P minus Q. Make sure that when you divide this right side by 4, that you're not doing anything with the P minus Q. Remember, the parentheses and the 4 are 2 different terms. Now to solve for Q, what would you do? Yeah, subtract the P on both sides. Now, when you're subtracting that, you have W over 4 minus P equals a negative Q. Oh no, we have a negative.
There's no solution.
No, it's
No.
not a count.
No, that's the absolute value equation. To get rid of this negative 1Q, what do we have to do? Divide by negative 1, or you can multiply both sides by a negative 1. Okay, either way it works. So now I'm left with negative W over 4 plus P equals Q. So if I multiply by negative 1, I have to distribute that negative 1 to everything on the inside of that parenthesis. And this would be my answer right here. Okay. So that's the first way. Now, some of you may like this way, but some of you may prefer way 2. So let's come back over to way 2, and I'm going to solve it by distributing first. Okay, so the second way is to distribute the 4 on both sides. And I now have W equals 4P minus 4Q. So are there any questions on how I did that? Why what I just did? Okay. The next thing, I still need to isolate Q. So what am I going to do next to both sides? Well, I need to isolate Q, so I'm gonna leave that alone for right now. You would actually you would subtract 4P on both sides. So I'm left with W minus 4P equals a negative 4Q. I could have added 4Q, but then I would have had to then subtract W and divide. But then it doesn't matter. There's different ways you could do this. I still need to get rid of the Q. What am I going to do?
You need to divide by
Divide everything by a negative 4. Okay, so I get rid of this. Now I'm left with a negative W. Oh, my screen's frozen. Okay, hold on just a second. Okay, so I end up with a negative W over 4 plus P equals Q, because a negative 4 divided by a negative 4 is a positive 1. Okay, so positive 1P or just P. So we get the same answer either way we do this type of a problem. So it's just to show you that sometimes there's multiple ways to do this. Okay. Let's move on to example 18. We're gonna solve this literal equation for the indicated variable, then use the information to find the principal. Actually, we're not gonna find the principal, we're gonna find the rate. This is wrong right here. So cross that off and put rate. Okay, rate. Okay, so we have distance equals rate times time. I'm gonna show you two ways to do this one as well. So we have D equals RT, but they want us to find R, the rate. So what am I gonna do to isolate my R here?
You're gonna divide that off.
T. Okay. Not if we're gonna try to isolate R. So now we have D over T equals R. Now we're gonna solve for the rate by plugging in the information they give us. They give us distance and they give us time. So let's go ahead and plug those in. Distance is 462. Time is 7. And now we divide 462 by 7. Yeah, is it?
Yes.
Yeah. So 66 equals our rate. So. Okay, now let me show you the other way, and you are free to solve this in any way you want. Our equation is D equals RT. What if we didn't rearrange the equation for R and we just plugged in what we knew? We know that our distance is 462. We don't know our rate, but we know our time is 7. Now this is easy, right? We've done this before. What do we do to both sides? And 66 miles per hour. Oh, I forgot to put miles per hour over here. So which way seems easier? Yeah, the second one seems easier. So what I want you guys to do is I want you to solve number 19 using either method that you want. And I'm going to give you about 3 minutes because that's all it should take. And then we will come back and share our answers. So go ahead and try this. So here is the answer for 19. Check to be sure. I'm sorry.
She attracts stuff. She gonna be.
All right, any questions?
Do we have to show the hours?
So,
Oh, this one doesn't show the other way of doing this, but if you just plugged in what they give you 168 as the distance, 56 as R, and you're trying to solve for T. So then you would divide both sides by 56. And 168 divided by 56 is 3, and this is 3 hours. Okay. So either way that you solve this would be correct. Okay, let's go to page 6. This time it's interest. Okay.
No.
All right.
Oh, you divide
So-
that by two.
I equals PRT. And they want us to solve for the principal. And we've done these types of problems before. So we're gonna divide by RT on both sides. Okay. Or you could just leave it as I equals PRT and plug in your information and solve. So I over RT equals P. And now we can plug in our information. What do you guys remember about rate and principal? What do we have to do?
Okay, so you have to multiply, so 300 times 0.16.
Yes, okay, stop right there. Your rate is 0.16. You have to turn it into a decimal. Does anyone remember about the year though? Asher? Yes,
Now you have to do a fraction times.
and
one
then,
fourth.
yep, 1/4 would be your fraction. So when you plug this in, make sure you're plugging it in correctly. And we've already done the interest rate lesson, so this isn't new. So I'm gonna go ahead and plug in both sets what it would look like. So interest is 300 divided by my rate, which is 0.16 times my time, which is 1/4.
Oh, what's 1/4 in a fraction? 0.25.
Yes, you could turn that into a decimal and then just multiply your decimals.
Yeah, that's not good. No.
If you wrote it up here, our interest is 300. We don't know what our principal is. Our rate is 0.16 times our time, which is 1/4 R. So you could solve this either way. Okay, what is 0.16 times 1/4? You should get 0.04, right?
Yeah, no, wait, what? I
0.04.
got 4,800, but it gets 48.
Hold on, if you did, no, I did that wrong. Hold on. If you multiply 0.16 times 0.25, which you could do this either way. Oh, I think I might have messed up. Oh, no, I didn't. Yeah. Oh, it's 0.04. 0.04. So I end up with 300 divided by 0.04 equals P. Okay,
Okay.
or,
Is it 12?
hold on, I don't know yet. I'm still doing it. Okay. And then you could divide both sides over here by 0.04, and now you're at the same place as you are down here. Notice that this method takes a lot more work. So before I go any further, are there any questions on what I'm doing up here? Because I know this lesson is long. This will probably be the last problem that we do. And then we will move on, okay? Are there any questions?
Yes, what's the answer?
Oh, well, let's figure it out. 300 divided by 0.04, move your decimal over twice, add 2 zeros. 4 goes into 37 times. Bring down your 0.
What the heck? I did not get that. I got 12.
4 goes into 25 times, and then you add 2 zeros. So your answer would be 7,500 equals R. And it's $7,500, not R.
No, P.
P.
Are you sure it's $7,500?
I messed up over there. Okay, no, it's 7,500. Okay, so 7,500 is the correct way. Now, we are not, I don't want to take more time to do this because we've done these types of problems already, but I am going to show you 18 and 19. So if you want to write down any information about 18 and 19 to make sure you understand how to do this, you can. This problem on number 19, we did one almost identical to it already. I think we did it on the other side. This is a duplicate. So really the only, oh, these are both, oh wait, I'm sorry, I'm showing you the wrong page. So these are not duplicates. So these ones are a little bit more confusing just because the numbers are so much larger. And then this one, the rate is 0.425. So, or 0.0425. So anyway, if you want to write those answers down and then go back and try them, you can. Otherwise, we are finished with this lesson. Okay, and so this concludes our video.